This video is about working on your flats layer. Your flats layer is the layer of your drawing that is like your underpainting. And so I've got my photograph, and on top of my photograph, I've laid out all of my outlines in my inks layer. And then the next layer underneath is going to be your flats layer. Those are all those basic colors that lay underneath before any of your shading, like your midtones, your highlights, and your shadows. So you want to just lay out some basic color schemes here. You can pick a particular color scheme for this. You can decide what you want your skin tones to be. They can be natural looking, or you could do something like a purple monochromatic skin color for your skin tone as an underpainting. Really, you can go in any direction that you want here for your flats. I'm giving you guys a link to a video on YouTube. It's called How to Flat Comics Properly. So this is a good example of what flats can look like. And you can tell there's like a warm versus cool color scheme here that's used. You can go in that direction if you want. So really the flats are just about filling in all of the chunks of color, and it works like an underpainting. But definitely watch this flats video, because this artist will show you how people do it as illustrators or comic book illustrators, and how they fill it in. And a lot of artists actually hire artists that will specifically do all their flat work for them, and then they go and do other things like the rendering. So the way I was taught to do my flats is I was taught to select an area with the selection tools and then fill in with the paint bucket tool. So I'm going to first make a new layer with the new layer button here. And I'm going to title that my flats. Click the enter button to finish that. And then I'm going to go to a really simple tool like the lasso tool. Now you could really use any selection tool you want, but the lasso tool I find is pretty easy. I don't have to worry about getting things perfect. And again, I'm using my navigator to zoom in and work on certain areas at a time. So if I want to start working on my hair, for example, to flat this out, I'm going to start selecting just the area of the hair. And I'm going to try to go on the edges of the dark line that I drew in my inks layer, because I don't want to have any white gaps if I can avoid it. That's going to be in between all these flat colors. So it may take you a little bit of time to flat things out. Again, it's why artists hire people out. Now, sometimes when my hand is getting tired, I take a break and I finish where I started. So I have this section, and I'll just start piece by piece adding the paint bucket in here. So if I want my hair to be green, let's say, you can go a little crazy here. I'm going to choose a specific color. Maybe I'll do some dark green hair for this. And I'm going to right click on my gradient to grab my paint bucket tool. And my paint bucket is going to drop whatever foreground color I've got. And I'm just going to fill in that selection as I go. Now, you can hit Control D to deselect, or you can just click once when I go back to my lasso tool, and I'll be able to continue selecting. So when your hand gets tired, you can kind of end that selection. Oops, I'm trying not to go over. And I just kind of make a circle, and then I fill in as I go. So that's a technique that I learned for doing my flat work. Again, I'm just going to my lasso tool. It's a freehand lasso. I click once, and I work on little areas of a time to fill in. Right? When I get tired, I just bring it around, make a complete shape. and then jump over to my paint bucket and fill in as I go. So there's ways for you to add to your selection and subtract from your selection, and you're going to find those tools right up here in the options palette if you're clicked on one of your selection tools. If I want to keep adding to a selection before I fill, I can go into the add mode for this lasso selection tool. And basically now I'm just adding to a selection, right? I make the complete shape. If I want to add to that over here, go around, make that a complete shape, and it's adding to this selection. So I can keep adding and adding and adding, and when I've added enough and my area is big enough, I can navigate back to my paint bucket tool and then click once to fill. If I want to deselect, I can hit Control D or go to the select menu where I do deselect. Okay, so I'm just going to keep working with my selection tool, going around each inside shape. Right, I can add. Remember, you can also subtract too. If you go into subtract mode, this cleans it up if I need to.